afternoon. Got in the name. It's now the Amazing Scott. Last winter, I did a QPR suicide prevention training in Moorhead, and I was blessed to meet this man. As soon as the training was over, he was just bursting with things he had to tell me. And he shoved a coin in my hand with a number for firefighters to call if they were in crisis, and he gave me a packet full of brochures and a bundle full of cards, and said we need to tell people who are responding to crisis to take care of themselves. We need to reach out. I think the most important thing about Scott that impressed me is his love for life now. And he was pretty close to not being here a year ago. And he has an amazing story. And really, truly, he just absolutely touches my heart. And so I bring to you the amazing Scott Geiselhart.
My name is Scott Geiselhart. I'm almost a 20-year veteran of Crazy Fire Department. I did a lot of auto extrication. I did everything on the fire department, but auto extrication I was really good at. I've seen a lot of car accidents. About 15 years ago, 16 years ago, we had a string of really bad ones. And we lost a lot of people, a lot of different accidents, a lot of different ways they died. I started not sleeping too good, having nightmares, flashbacks, yelling. I started yelling at my kids and yelling at the girl I was with. And it continually got worse and worse and worse until about 5 years ago. I built a new shop and had a lot of stress in my life. I've got my own business, the auto repair shop. And about 5 years ago, I was doing meth on weekends. And about 5 years ago, I started doing meth to stay awake, not to have any more nightmares. And it got a lot worse. At the end, the last 3 years prior, I was doing a line an hour minimum. And I never went to sleep. I'd stay awake for 3 days straight and lay down for 4 hours. Couldn't close my eyes, because every time I closed my eyes, I'd have these nightmares of my kids burning to death or falling into the water and drowning in front of me, and I was crippled and I couldn't do anything about it. So I just got myself not to ever shut my eyes again. And about 15 months ago, I had enough. I didn't know what was going on in my life. I thought I was Jekyll and Hyde. I thought I had a split personality. And I thought I was going to physically hurt him. I was yelling at him all the time. I'd yell at him and turn around, I'd leave the house, I'd do things that kind of close with my friends. And I didn't understand what was going on. I thought I was going crazy. And one day I left the house after yelling at him, and I went down to my shop, went into my office, grabbed my revolver with my head, and I pulled the trigger. And it went click. And the only thing about revolvers, the hammer comes down, it hits something that's most likely the bullet, primer, and it goes off. The primer wasn't touched on any rounds, but it did click. I threw the gun down, and I was terrified. I couldn't believe what I just did. It was just a split second. It wasn't a split second, but before I did it, I remember telling myself, I'm going to hell. I can't do this anymore. Help me. And I grabbed the gun and I said, God, please forgive me. And wow. Everything just flashed. Wow. It was wow. I climbed the desk behind me up against the wall, and I was so scared the gun was going to go off and pull my eardrums out. Finally, I got calmed down enough to cut down and unload the gun. I wouldn't even let the cylinder close. I had to put a pin in the cylinder so the cylinder wouldn't close. I was so scared the gun was going to go off, even when I wasn't even loaded. The computer was in front of me on my desk, and I don't type. I'm kind of a tongue typer. And my fingers just danced across the keyboard. I just started punching it. I remember going yelling, flashbacks, nightmares, just all sorts of things on there. And I hit enter, and PTSD lit up the screen. And that's the first time they told us on the fire department, watch out for PTSD. They just told us the 4 letters. They never told us what PTSD was. I thought it was a military thing. I thought that, hey, I'm strong. I'm not going to get PTSD. It's not going to affect me. I got this all under control. Well, I thought I did. I obviously didn't. But I didn't connect the two. When I hit the second one down, was like the Mayo site. I hit that and it opened up, and I seen the symptoms, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Every single symptom. It was like looking in the mirror. Everything that was on there, and I started researching on it, and I researched all night long. And it was a cure for it. I mean, it's not something I had to live with, it's something we could take care of. And I was so excited because my girlfriend at the time, after 17 years, left me. And my kids, you know, started to kind of abandon me. They just didn't want to be around me, so I didn't yell at them and knock them down. And the things I said was horrible. I never physically hit them. My gosh, the things I told them was just absolutely horrible. And I went and tried to talk to them. I said, hey, I think I found out what's going on. It's PTSD. And they looked at me like I was a monster. I was so excited after researching this all night long and looking on YouTube. And I was so excited that, man, I figured this out. I got my life back. I can get this figured out, you know. And when I talked to them, they looked at me like I scared the crap out of them. They were scared of me. And I went back down to the shop, and I'm like, what can I do? I had some phone numbers that the fire department gave me. I got them like 10 years earlier. And I called a suicide hotline. I called it 12 times, nobody answered. I called 3 other phone numbers that the fire department gave me, and all 3 of those were disconnected. They were no longer in service. They lost their funds, or for whatever reason, they weren't in service anymore. And I called a friend of mine who was a police officer, and I told him, hey, I need some help. I need you to go explain to my girlfriend that I have PTSD. I said, please help me. I said, I need some help here. I can't do it by myself. And he says, Scott, we're coming to pick you up. We're going to bring you to the hospital. They're going to try to lock you up. I said, that wasn't the answer I wanted to hear. I told him I said, stay away, because I said, I got 2 more phone calls. I said, just stay away, don't come out. Don't come out. I lined propane tanks and my acetylene tanks up in a line. I grabbed my SKS with tracer rounds in it, and I was going to level that whole shop by a squad car. I mean, I was not going to go to Dayton Hospital, but we're not going to lock me up. That's the last thing I needed. I thought, you know, it probably was, but if they would have confined me, I would have probably really been a basket case right now. I called another friend that was a local, somewhat local. It was a crisis center, and told him what I did. I said, just, you know, tried to kill myself a little while ago, and he said, well, we can get you an appointment for a week and a half out. And I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm supposed to be dead. This isn't happening. There's no way. I started giving up. I had one last phone number that my assistant chief gave me. And it was 1-888-731-FIRE. It's for firefighters, for EMS, for police officers. And I called it. And I told him, I said, I tried to kill myself. I got PTSD. I need some help. And he said, Scott, we got you. And it was just like somebody picked me up in their hands. And it was the most incredible thing in my life. That was the best word I've ever heard. And they talked to me, and they got me calmed down, and they convinced me everything was going to be just fine. 12 hours later, I was in Fargo at the Village having EMDR done. It's eye movement desensitization reprocessing. That stuff is incredible. And I don't know if it works for everybody like it did for me. It was absolutely amazing. I went and talked to him twice, just, you know, talking and telling him what happened in my life and what I thought was bothering me. And we started light sessions. So you actually put a light in front of you and your eyes follow it. And you start talking about your problems, and all of a sudden, you know, it helps. It's like putting you in REM mode sleep, but you're wide awake. And the counselor is there to talk to you and guide you through this. And I started talking about it, and I thought it was old girlfriends or something, because I never loved anybody. I couldn't love anybody. And all of a sudden, boom, the accidents just came out. I mean, I started thinking about it and talking about it, and it felt like they were in my head, and it came into my chest and out my mouth, and I listened to what I was saying, and finally I was processing it and putting it away the way it's supposed to be put away. So when I got out of the trucks, when I was on the fire department, getting out of the trucks and going to a car accident, you shut your brain down. You do what you're trained to do. You don't want to look at the faces. You don't want to recognize these people. You never be able to do your job. But you do see it, and it gets put in your head, and it does come back all later. And when you relax, when you're sleeping, it comes back in nightmares. It did with me anyways. And the flashbacks and seeing the crosses on the road when I drive by, and I wouldn't look the direction of the crosses, where the victims were. And I couldn't even, I'd be out having fun, and all of a sudden, I'd see a face that looked familiar. And, oh my gosh, I'd start sweating. I couldn't handle heat. I couldn't even get in direct sunlight again. The sun just felt like it was burning right through my skin. And after the MDR, after I started having sessions, and it felt awesome because it just came out. I mean, everything started to get light. It felt like I had a trench coat on, covered with tar, dry tar, and it felt like I peeled it off, and it was like I was naked. I didn't even have a chest plate over my heart. It was such an incredible feeling of being free and be able to think again. And had my emotions, and I cried a lot. I felt everything. I felt pain. I felt everything. And after the second session with the lights, I set meth down and walked away cold turkey. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my counselor. I didn't tell anybody. Only the people I knew about it were the people that were selling it to me, and the people I was doing it with. And I went for 3 weeks with that stuff in my drawer of my office, walked by it all the time, never even had a temptation, never craved nothing. And I told my counselor 3 weeks later that I had it there and I quit. And he got a little mad. Because I was supposed to tell him that stuff. I couldn't. I was doing that. I was going to talk to him and do the light sessions. And, but to be able to walk away from that, it was absolutely incredible. And he said, Scott, you got to get rid of it. First, it's illegal. Second, if your kids find it, you don't want to get busted now after you quit. So it's like I got rid of it. I was buying this stuff by the ounce. And I got it pretty cheap because I was buying it straight from the lab. And they were delivering it. It was almost too easy. But I feel things now that I never felt before, and see things. 2 months after I had this, I noticed a big change in my life. I didn't yell anymore. I was so calm and peaceful. And I started going to church, talking to my pastor all the time. That was huge. That was absolutely huge. My faith is everything right now. And 2 months after that, I woke up one morning with chest pains. And I thought it was heartburn. And I hadn't seen a doctor probably for 10 years prior. And for whatever reason, I said, I'm not going to be stubborn anymore. So I went into the clinic and walked in there and said I was having some chest pains. And wow, you get a little attention when you say that. They rushed me in the back room, did the EKGs, gave me some nitro, the chest pains went away. And they did x-rays, and nothing showed up on the EKG, but they rushed me to Fargo by ambulance. And they had me on a nitro drip in Fargo, and the chest pains went away. So they did, they wanted to do a stress test the next day, and they told me this, well, we're not really sure what's going on here, but we want you to calm down overnight so we do a stress test tomorrow. I was like, no, I want to get something done now. And they said, well, we can do an angiogram. I said, do it. And they did an echo on my heart to check it, and everything looked good. I know it was really cool seeing your heart beating on a TV screen. But when they did the angiogram, they had me laying on the x-ray table, a big machine up above me, and they went in through my wrist, and they had me all ready. They didn't know what they were going to find. I told them about the meth, and the doctor was really concerned. And when they did the angiogram, when I was laying there, I closed my eyes and I prayed. And I thank God for 2 months. 2 months of seeing life. Because I'd never seen it before. I never fell in love. I loved my ex-girlfriend so much. I was with her for 17 years, and I finally seen her for the very first time I could see her. It was like I had these walls built up, but I prayed for 2 months of life and for being able to be with my kids for real, not being a zombie. And when I opened my eyes, the technicians in the room, I was so impressed, the technicians in the room had their heads bowed and they were waiting for me to get done praying. And that meant so much. And they said, they walked me through it. They said, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "Yes, let's do this." And they started it, and you could feel it going around your arm and stuff. And all of a sudden, the one in the back room that was running the X-ray machine goes, "Oh, is that a bridge?" I'm like, "Oh, what?" And the doctor's like, "That's okay, Scott, relax." It's like, "No, what's going on here?" They told me I have a myocardial bridge in my heart. It's something I was born with. And that's giving me chest pains. They said I have a heart of an 18-year-old. They said there's no damage. Absolutely none. They said my heart's in incredible shape. For them to tell me that, I wasn't expecting to walk out of that hospital because I thought that would have killed me. There's been so many miracles in my life. About 3 months after that, I went in because I was bleeding really bad, and I knew it was coming from my stomach, and I knew the method that got in my stomach because I was snorting. I wasn't smoking, I wasn't shooting it, I was snorting. It was getting in my stomach, and I was bleeding a lot. And they did a GI. They would only throw it. They wanted to check my upper intestines and my stomach for damage and ulcers. And they said they wanted to do a colonoscopy at the same time. So it's like I was 46 years old, and it's like, wow, what the heck, you're going to put me on, might as well do it. I wasn't really looking forward to it, but they did it, and the GI showed that, yes, I had a lot of damage on my stomach and upper intestines, but it was healing. They said it's going to be fine. They said it'll take care of itself. A week later, I went in for my colonoscopy results, and the doctor walked in and shook my hand and said, "Congratulations, you're colon cancer survivor." I didn't even have a clue I had colon cancer. But they took 5 polyps out, and they said the one polyp was within months of going into my colon, and they got it all. And it was just one thing right after another. Wow, it's absolutely amazing. But now I go around talking to fire departments about PTSD. In fact, Minnesota Chiefs Association is putting articles in their flyers and their newsletters. I'm going to be in a lot of newspapers and the Fire Chiefs magazine, and they're putting my story in there to try to get through the firefighters that, if you're having these problems, it's not normal. You got to get some help. It's PTSD. Firefighters are, firefighters, police officers, military people. They want to be this big, strong, macho guy. We can handle anything. Well, you can't. You need to reach out for help. And I tell you, I wish I'd have done it so long ago. I got life back. I walked my dog down by the river today. I don't know if you guys could see what I see. Life is awesome. The girl I was with, we're not together. She's mother of my kids, and we get along and stuff. But we realize that we're not meant for each other, and it's just everything just came together the way it was supposed to be. And I realized I'm not in charge of my life. I just gave everything, and I'm not sure what tomorrow's going to bring, but I'm ready for it. And so far in my life, tomorrow's been better than yesterday. So I get down. Last night I was down, but the difference was I picked up the phone and made a phone call to somebody. Instead of sitting there and laying in bed all night with my chest pounding and caving in and thinking the elephant sat on me, it's like pick up the phone and call somebody, and 5 minutes later I felt great. And it's just amazing. I was last December, I was in Fargo driving down we were going to West Acres, and I looked over at my son. He's 14 years old, and I said, "Boy, I'm sure glad that gun didn't go off." And he looked up at me, and he said, "Dad, that gun did go off, and it killed Dad." And it's so true. I haven't yelled for the last 10 months, 12 months. I haven't degraded my voice hardly. I used to be a yelling baboon and talking. Jesus, I couldn't believe the things that they recorded me one time. And I'm like, no way. I was going to use it in my seminars, and when I talked, I was going to play that. But it was so evil, I couldn't even have it on my phone. I had to get rid of it within 24 hours. I hated it. That person's dead. He's gone. I don't ever want him to come back. I talked to the Chiefs meeting after this. I'll go back a little farther. About 2 weeks after this happened, 3 weeks after, and PTSD and stuff, I figured it out. I was talking to a pastor, and I said, I got to get to the fire department. I got to talk to the firefighter that I'm with. And because I wanted them to be aware of what PTSD is and how trapped you can get it. And I talked to him. I went up and talked in front of him, and it was amazing how silent they got, and the tears rolled. I mean, they got totally quiet in that room, and they had no clue. They had me way up on this pedestal. I went from assistant chief down to not making meetings, not making trainings, to where I hated fire trucks in 6 months' time. I hated it, and it wasn't me, and nobody caught it. They kind of seen it, but nobody wanted to take a step forward and do anything about it, because they didn't know how. Nobody trained them. And when I talked to them, I said, you guys, I'm not expecting anything more than just give me a call, get me out of the house, keep me going, keep me involved with what you guys are doing. If you guys are going out and have a beer, if you're going out hunting, fishing, shooting, whatever, give me a call, get me out of the house. They avoided me like the plague. And they didn't mean to do that. I know that now, but we're firefighters and we're not even taking care of our own. And that goes for EMS, fire, police department, military, everything. Even PTSD, anybody can get PTSD. It's post-traumatic stress disorder. A kid can get it, a little kid can get it from being abused, a girl, a wife, even the girl I was with, the stuff I put her through. I can't hang on to the past. I have to let it go as much as I can and still be able to talk about it freely here. But the guilt I have, the survivor guilt I have, I talked to Never Give Up program, or Never Give Up group in Wadena a couple weeks ago, a 5K walk run, and it was really hard standing up there and saying how happy I am to be alive. And so many of those people had lost somebody so close to them. The survivor guilt was incredible. But after they came up and hugged me and they said they were so proud of me to speak out, and that was everything to me. I can't shut up about it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did. This is not what it was a year ago. 14 months ago, I was a wreck. But now I can't shut up about it. I can't stop smiling. I think that's about all I've got. I quit drugs, and now I have people calling me for help, and not help, just to talk. It's really amazing. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.